Welcome, guys. Welcome back to another episode. Another episode of Nothing Serious, Just Vibes, the podcast, the East African podcast. You know how we get busy. You get me? Another, obviously, as per usual, we got another special guest in the building. We got someone that I think is doing a great job in representing the East African sound I keep talking about. A great ambassador of our music and our sound and our culture, you know what I mean? Playing his part in the scene, you get me? And obviously we've connected through that. And then, built a great relationship and friendship. So, you get me? This is my guy. Been looking forward to chat to you. Mr. K. Roo, DJ, music creator. You get me? What other titles can I add to that? Thank you so much for being here, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man. Happy to be here. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on. 100%, 100%. We've been meeting up, having these conversations, but it's not on record.
Yeah.
But I think the first place to start is like just, you know, who are you? Who's K. Roo? Who's the man behind the music?
Oof. Where do I begin with that? Well, K. Roo. Again, yes, as you said, a DJ curator from East Africa. You know, specifically, born in Mombasa, Kenya.
Nice. Okay.
To Ugandan parents, but with Rwandan heritage as well. So proper, East African representation there.
Yeah.
Which it sort of allows me to claim the region as a whole, right. which I enjoy doing. I appreciate. And growing up, I grew up in different parts of the continent, actually, not just East Africa. So that exposed me to the diversity that we have, on the continent, across the continent, and made me, appreciate and fall in love with Africa as more of a whole.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that has carried through a lot of what I've done in my life so far, whether in my career or in my pastimes. And I was also very fortunate, I would say, to have my parents enable me to explore music in different ways, earlier on through instruments.
Okay.
And then, allowing me to sort of explore that in school, being in the choir, funding choir trips, right, which gave me more confidence in that space, and never really, never really putting me down for any, musical endeavors or musical interest that I had, getting me a DJ controller, which then, enabled me to start DJing. And so I really do appreciate the support that they gave me at an early age and have throughout.
Yeah.
But so so with that sort of created the conditions for me to grow into a music head, a Pan-African music head. So as I mentioned, growing up around the continent, meeting people from all over Africa, and then even going to university in the US and meeting Africans in the diaspora, and seeing the different dots that are there to connect between people of African descent and how powerful it can be. A lot of that inspired the work that I do today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That is interesting, because I was actually gonna get into like how you got in, the passion for music. Was it something from early? Because some people just fall into DJing after a later stage, but that's a great breakdown of kind of the history and the musical journey up to this point. And you've touched on a lot of things, especially like the Pan-Africanism, or the idea of everyone has something to bring to the table, and appreciating everyone's ideas from, we're all Africa, we're all one together. So like that in itself, do you feel like it's something that's in you growing up in Africa, or it's something that is passed down to you, or it's something that you could learn? It's something that I don't know, you can pick up? Because I'm trying to say on the other side of the table is, you know, someone that's grown up here, born here, raised here. How do they pick up that without being necessarily on the ground in Africa and necessarily living in Africa, going to school in Africa? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's definitely a good question. You know, speaking from my experience, I'd say it's a combination of the different factors that you mentioned, coming from, you know, my own interest,
just
curiosity, initiative, motivation, but then also, you know, coming from my parents, for example. I'll specifically mention my father and his taste of music, and, you know, the African legends that he exposed me to that are from different parts of the continent, right? Not just East Africa, not just Uganda. You know, learning about Cesaria Evora through him, legendary singer from Cape Verde. You know, down south, Oliver Mtukudzi. And so that regional variation of musical genres, of musical flavors, I think fed into this Pan-African identity to the music, the Pan-African palette, if I may.
I like that.
But then, you also learn it. I think there's also definitely opportunities to learn it. You know, digging a bit deeper into something I mentioned earlier, my time in university in the US. I was part of, so one of the extracurricular activities I did was taking part in a performing arts troupe called African Rhythms, that did drum and dance, so rhythm and movement, inspired by West African traditions and Afro-Cuban traditions. Right. So I was more familiar with the West African aspect of what the troupe sort of was inspired by, because I'd grown up in Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa and was familiar with the djembe, for example, and those kind of rhythms. But then me exploring Afro-Cuban culture through this troupe and seeing how connected it was to Yoruba culture in present day Nigeria, Benin, that was really an eye opener for me. It you know, it goes back to what I was saying about connecting dots. I was just blown away by the fact that, you know, we were singing these pieces that were in you know, a language that people, Afro-Cubans, you know, of African descent spoke, which was like a dialect of Yoruba. So it's like a language that was preserved from what, you know, was spoken back on the continent. And you know, fast forward, meeting Nigerians and singing to them those songs, they could recognize the words, they could recognize the message. And so that really,
all those like years later and like hundreds of years later, and the history still lived on through the music, I guess, primarily. Because it's funny you speak about that and like Afro-Cubans and stuff, because I've been listening to George the Poet. He's got a podcast called Have You Heard George's Poet? George's podcast, and it's probably my favorite podcast, like after maybe the 90s Baby or something. But anyway, it's he was talking about that history of like the migration of West Africa, and from you know, how the history lived on through the music, and like the culture has lived on through language, and those little aspects are what binds us together and brings us together. Sometimes we're so focused on the little petty things of whose jollof is better, he didn't say that, but that's my annotation of it. But you know, the little petty flipping diaspora wars, but there's so much more that connects us. It's so much bigger than us. Like, you know, Cuba, when you think about it, you don't really associate with Africa, you associate with Spain and Mexico and Latin culture. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's seen that way, it's framed that way, but it's very much African culture. You know, Haiti, and like it all connects back to the motherland.
Definitely. I mean, if you look at how these different countries and societies were built in the New World, I mean, they needed, you know, I hate to say it, but consider African slaves, but they were, you know, enslaved, right? At that point, that labor, I mean, to build these, whether it's the US or Brazil or Cuba. So and you do see that the erasure of that sort of influence or importance in different ways. But it's still very much there, whether really like sort of ingrained 100%. In the mainstream society of these countries, or just that, you know, these people are still there and they have their culture and they maintain it. And there are always, you know, opportunities. There are opportunities that exist for us to create more of these links. And you see, so back to your initial question, these are things that I learned while I was, you know, at school, right? This curiosity that I had, these are things that I picked up, you know, in my young adult life, I guess. And so not, you know, from my parents necessarily, or not really from my own childhood curiosity. So I say that to say that, you know, it's possible, I think, for people who may not have been born or raised on the continent to develop such interests and to accumulate such knowledge and to act on such knowledge. I mean, in that troop, the troop was mainly made up of African Americans, many of whom had not left the continent before.
But they were a bit curious.
Left the US, sorry. But they were curious and, you know, became very informed and very engaged in the cultures. So I definitely think that it's possible. And I definitely believe in that, because a lot of what I do is grounded in the fact that there are many out there who may not know certain things that will actually move them and inspire them to be more engaged in the culture that they explore, the culture that they consume in a way, or participate in.
That's deeper, because that I part of the reason I asked that is, you know, generally speaking, the Afrocentric and Afrocentricness, you know what I'm trying to say.
Afrocentric.
Afrocentricness.
Afrocentricity.
Yes, sir. That's the word. It's something that's we speak about this quite a lot. Something that's quite, you know, recent and quite, you know, to be cool to be African. It's cool to be African now and stuff like that. So a lot of you know, us, the ones who grew up here a bit earlier on, we're kind of a bit shy to say we're African. We weren't too, you know, we weren't the first ones in the room to admit where we're from. But at the same time, when we link up together, we had that camaraderie. We were good. We link up and we're like, yeah, no, we're Kenyan. We understand we're Kenyan. But it was hard to have that double. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But I feel like nowadays it's a lot easier. The music, the culture is cool now. Everything is all good. So I feel like naturally, the ones coming up now should maybe have that curiosity. Should want to, you know, because I see a lot of like young Kenyans wearing the bracelet, and, you know, they go back home and stuff, and you know, they'll even look up to a lot of us who have kind of grown up here, and kind of for a bit of guidance, a bit of cultural guidance, should I say, maybe. And then obviously we look up to our parents as well. So I guess it is important to just seek that, have that bit of curiosity, and want to seek out something different that, you know, is from your people. And the reason why I also touched onto that is because we're doing a trip to Kilifi end of the year.
Nice.
And end of this month, actually. End of this month. So road to Kilifi is unfortunately postponed though. The trip we were planning, or the events we were planning to do, aren't gonna go ahead, unfortunately. However, the events are still happening in Kenya. So in terms of the Beneath the Baobabs Festival is still happening. And obviously there's other events that will be happening in Nairobi as well, but we won't be organizing them. So we're gonna postpone that till next year. Get a lot more I don't know, there's a lot more we need to do to build a bit more of an infrastructure to get it done the way we want to get it done. We want to deliver an excellent service, and we didn't feel like it was up to scratch yet. So I mean, we went last year and we did it, and it was a great experience. But this time we wanted to up it a little bit more, and we didn't feel it was quite there yet. So but that's besides the point, because the events are still happening. People will still be there. We'll still be turning up. So yeah, man, let's link up same way. And also this weekend, because it's gonna drop maybe Friday. Wednesday. Friday, we'll drop this Friday. So this weekend we've got a Jamhuri Day event on the 9th on Saturday in Northampton. So yeah, just check out the SAUTI and MASHARIKI socials, Nothing Serious Vibes socials. All the information is on there. And also we're going to Scotland for an East African night. It's going to be a crazy one in Glasgow. at the 142B venue in Glasgow. So yeah, let's link up at those two. You know what I mean? Let's turn up for East Africa one time. You know, Kenya at 60. Tanzania is also celebrating their independence this month as well. So it's a great time to celebrate East Africa, and obviously it's festive season and that as well. So another excuse to turn up. You get me?
Yeah.
You feel me?
Fire.
But yeah, man. And speaking about East Africa, like, what a year we've had, man.
Yeah.
What a year we've had.
Most definitely, man.
You know?
Making strides. You know, setting up bigger, you know, blocks.
Yeah.
And, you know, proper foundation to lift off in 2024.
100%.
You know, I hope people are ready.
Bro.
I know our people are ready, but the world.
I mean, are our people ready? Do our people even know? Some like, I sometimes feel like it's such a bubble what's happening. Like, I feel like, are you not listening? Are you not hearing what I hear?
Well, I was talking about the artists.
Okay, all right, yeah. Them man are ready. Them man are cooking. Them man have been cooking. Nah. I'm not doubting them. I can't doubt them. I'm doubting the audience. I'm doubting the. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's not doubting. That doubting is the wrong word. I'm asking. I'm asking
right.
a question. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we've been doing a lot of great things. It's just, I don't know, there's a certain pride or something we lack in the sense of how we consume our own music in East Africa, that is. Maybe it's just a Kenyan thing, I'm not sure, but it's something that we struggle with big time. Like, you know, it's spoken about all the time. You know, you go to a club, it's all very much not Kenyan music, radio stations, TV, everything. It's like, it's been such a push now that there's people now who are pushing for it to be legislation, and you know that you have to play 70% or however much, 65%, 70% local.
Right.
And I don't even like the word local because that also demeans it a little bit. You know, it's that local, but like no, this is us, this is ours, this is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, do you feel like that sometimes? Or is this just a Kenyan thing? Am I just talking for what to wear to? We're just letting ourselves down.
No, I mean, I don't think it's just. I don't think it's just a Kenyan thing. I mean, you know, there's a lot of different, you know, genres out there, music out there that's, you know, dominating more globally mainstream charts, and you know, these different genres are competing for people's attention.
Yeah.
I see it as a process. I see it as a journey, and you know, these type of changes that we desire, you know, don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But you know, it's important for there to be the right platforms out there to really translate what's going on to our audiences, and to inspire them to you know, get involved, right?
Yeah.
These
like
movements, and really
like
and really inspiring people from to go from being passive sort of consumers or passive participants to really more active participants that, you know, can really become ambassadors for the different sounds coming out of our cities, our countries, and even the region. Yeah, you know, you look at, you know, a great example of it is the rise of Afrobeats, and you know, if it wasn't for Nigeria and even Ghanaian diaspora in a city like London, I don't know if Afrobeats would have really
no, it wouldn't be where it is right now.
You know. Risen to this level of prominence and continuing to rise, obviously. Even just seeing, so that's just, you know, looking at what it was like maybe 5 years ago, approaching a decade even. But looking at it now, a place like London is still such an important city on the map when it comes to Afrobeats, whether it's looking at the traffic between West Africa and London, with the artists spending a lot of time here, networking here, record studios, but then even the shows. You know, the fact that selling out the O2 is such a meaningful feat, a meaningful achievement, you know, and not some arena in the US or in other parts of Europe. I mean, obviously there's the colonial legacy, the connection between the UK and West Africa. But yeah, to sell out the O2 is such a big feat. That just goes to show how much. And who is in these arenas? Like obviously the majority of the people there selling out are people selling out the arena are people from the diaspora.
Yeah.
So it's really important to build communities around the artists that I mentioned or that we both know already, right? So I think that's really this next phase, or I think it's been happening. It's been happening this year. I mean, it's been happening throughout time, but I think that's an area that can sort of be intensified in a way, and something that I personally, through the work that I do, really believe in and think is important to build a community around the creators and those really pushing these sounds from home.
Yeah.
SAUTI, MASHARIKI, as you push so consistently. So it's really about building those communities. But so I'll say that I think in the past few years I've noticed a shift and things starting to change and us embracing more of the sounds from home.
Yeah.
Whether in events in the clubs or at parties and radio I think is one of the last frontiers when it comes to that, and definitely an important one to also sort of achieve. But it really starts from home. It starts from the local parties. It starts from the events the promoters are putting on.
Yeah.
Because then influences what the radio DJs will program. Knowing that, because it's the club DJs that are really the initial sort of tastemakers, and then you hear something pop off in the club. It gets Shazammed. You see the Shazam charts. Let's say, okay, people really want this song, and then that translates to what's played on the radio, and then there's budget. Then there's all of a sudden there's budget to create the music video for the song that's hot on the radio, and then you have the visuals going on TV and etc. But yeah, so I think community is really important, and I'm seeing that in Nairobi. I'm seeing that in Kampala. I'm seeing that in Kigali. These may be smaller pockets, but it has to start somewhere.
That's
right.
True. Yeah.
But I'll say that from my knowledge, Tanzania moves in its own way. I feel like bongo flavor, Afro bongo flavor, like that's been like very popular in Dar and in other parts of TZ. Like
I just feel like because they just rapping now Swahili, they just got their own thing going.
Yeah.
Bro, they're just like, fuck it, we're just gonna do our own thing.
Yeah.
And I love that because consistently, if one day the artist posts a music video, whatever, you're seeing views go up. Like within the first 2-3 days, that man don't mess about. Like Diamond consistently is always the most streamed artist in Africa. Consistently, and his majority of that is Tanzania. But that's a great answer though, man. That's a great answer of like just to kind of put everything in perspective, because sometimes we might look at the bigger picture and says, it could look scary to sell out L2. It's a big thing to sell out L2. But when you take it in those steps, you're talking about those strides of like, you start within connecting with DJs that are in different countries, mailing lists and sending out and building communities, and then those DJs do events and then they play your music, and then, it is a process. You're right, and it is something that I guess going back to this microphones. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear that? That keeps coming. Is it?
It's fine now.
It's good now, yeah? Cool. There was some white noise, but yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
I do really do like that answer, because you have to put it in perspective and contextualize everything. And Afrobeats didn't just get here overnight. You're right. And London is a great key city. In the sense that we're in the middle of everything. So a lot of flows, and I mean a lot of music goes through here. And even just forget about Afrobeats and everything else. mainstream music, a lot of charts and all that kind of stuff. London is regarded as a big scene for music and stuff. So I guess it's only right that we also get in the midst of it, you know. So I feel like it's only a matter of time, and next year is going to be a great year. I feel like we're going to compound on what's happened this year. You know, artists coming over, touring, meeting people, just going to stations, going on podcasts, I don't know, talking to people, just being on the ground. People kind of appreciate that, you know, and they see that, and they see you again, and then they remember you, and then, you know, like, just build off that. I feel like next year, where do you see us like going next year in terms of the music and stuff like that? Do you just keep growing on what we've been doing, or do you see like a turn, or do you see, what do you think? What's gonna happen next year? What do you reckon?
Us as in
East Africa. Yeah. It's a bit of a broad question to ask, though. But
sorry,
it's a bit of a broad question to ask.
No, like that's fine. I mean, I think, as you said, compounding on what's happened this year, I think I see more connections being made between artists from the different countries, the different cities, as has been happening, you know, slowly. And you know, you have platforms that are doing a lot of that groundwork, and you know, definitely want to shout out, you know, a platform like Tangaza magazine. Big
up Tangaza,
you know, putting out these compilation projects that feature,
they've been going for a while,
you know,
as well.
that feature artists from, you know, the different countries in the region, making connections between like different producers, connecting the producers with these different artists. I think they've just released their third compilation project, I think. So I think that's a great example of the groundwork being laid to really you know, allow the region to thrive on a global scene. So I mean, most recently I myself put out a mix called East Side Love Song.
Let them know.
Shameless plug.
No shame.
On my platform Pineapple Undertones, and that the release and even the timing of the release is really to make a statement, you know, that East Africa is definitely a region to pay attention to, especially as we get into a new year, into 2024. And you know, the Pineapple Undertones platform is sort of, you know, placing a bet on alternative R&B, really doing a lot of that heavy lifting in terms of pushing, you know, sounds from the East. You know, there are a lot of talented singers and producers in that space that are putting out really quality R&B music, alternative R&B music. And I think that's you can see that as evident through the collaboration between Spotify Africa and A Colors Show, the Berlin platform, putting out a series of songs by artists from the region, from Kenya, from Uganda. You know, shout out to them, Maui Moon, Maya Molo, you know, Zinia. These are all sort of, you know, at that frontier, and really going to be pushing and promoting the region on the global stage very soon, if they're not, you know, already. And you know, I have, you know, the privilege of having conversations and relationships with some of them, and I can see how I can see the desire that they have to you know, to take the sound to the world, and not just themselves, right? You know, it's not just looking out for themselves. They see that it's a community, and it does take a village to 100%. really do that. So a lot of that has been happening this past year, and you know, that's not to say that there aren't other genres or other musical scenes in the region that have also been you know, making strides. You know, I think of like hip hop and the different subgenres of hip hop. You know, looking at the drill scenes, or even the trap scenes, like, you know, from whether it's from Kigali, from Rwanda with Kenya Trap, or also, you know, the different sort of rap subgenres in the Kenyan scene. It's a very, very exciting time. I think that, you know, there are other regions of the continent that have you know, had the time to really get onto the global scene, and, you know, still are taking up their you know, deserved sort of space on the scene. And I think that they've been opening doors for other regions as well. So you look at, you know, if Afrobeats was one of the first ones to really break through, you now look at how I'm a Piano has broken through, and there's been a lot of collaboration between Afrobeats artists and I'm a Piano artists, and you know, I do believe that has done a lot to bring the I'm a Piano artists onto the scene.
Yeah,
and there's an opportunity for both sets of communities of artists to also link with what we've got going on in the East.
Yeah.
You know, just to bring more of the region or more of the continent up onto the global stage.
It's that Pan-African thing.
Exactly. Exactly. That's where, you know, that's where it all originates. But so, yeah, with East Africa, I think more people are increasingly, you know, curious about what's going on in East Africa. You know, I've noticed that through conversations and through some of these moves like the Color Show, and, you know, labels as well, investing more time and money and making, you know, deals with East African artists. So it's definitely a matter of time. Yeah. But again, you know, we can't just sit there and wait for it to happen. You need people actually doing the work behind the scenes, and really the heavy lifting, the groundwork to ensure that we don't just have a very brief moment in the sun, and that once we feel like, okay, we're there, we have what it takes to sustain that and to really enable future generations to also get the chance to be there and to really grow and establish ourselves as you know, a region to really reckon with.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's actually it's amazing how I mean, we've had our moments over the years and stuff has happened, and artists have collaborated and stuff like that. But sometimes I feel like you're right. It's just the what they would call the back end, the business side of things, the ecosystem, you know, the live show venues that allow an artist to go to a venue, sell out 1,000 people or 2,000 people, all the little things that need government intervention, they need community building, they need so much more. I think those are the parts that sometimes we maybe have, I don't know, struggled with or not focused on too much. But yeah, that is building. That is definitely building. I've definitely felt the energy, and more to the point, like I kind of jumped on this new wave maybe like last year, and it was just like I've always listened to East African. I know like what's going on, but digging deeper, I was like, oh my days, there's a whole underbelly of like what's going on. Like I was literally in that, like, what's going on? This is sick. Like, and I'm still kind of like that. I'm still kind of because I'm still learning it. I'm still kind of consuming everything. I'm still learning who's who and what's this sound and who's this person, where they're from, and you know, stuff like that. And it's so exciting to be on that journey still, but also to be on the other side of it as a DJ or as a creator or someone that kind of tells a story as well. And so it's an exciting time. Definitely, I agree with that. And I feel like the more, I mean, we kind of carry on that flag or that torch and stuff like that, and can continue to build that community from this end. It also empowers, you know, the artists and the community back home as well, you know, to believe and to say, okay, yeah, people outside of just us are listening, you know what I mean? And then you get institutions like Spotify and stuff like that. Big up Monica. Great job. Great job with that. That was, oh man, and they just keep coming. It's like you think they're finished, then another one, another one. Honestly, so big up, honestly, big up for that one. And then obviously you get, you know, BN coming to do his album listening party here in London, which I feel like is a first for a Kenyan artist. You know, I don't quote me on that, but I genuinely feel like I haven't seen an artist just be that intentional. You know, come meet producers here and you know, label people and radio plug, all these kind of people that help to push music to where it is, and then record with these people and meet with it, and then come back and, you know, and then come back to do a listening party, do you know what I mean? And then come back and do a tour and stuff like that.
Sure,
so it big up to him, honestly.
Big up, yeah. Very exciting.
It is something that is gonna set in itself, has set I guess a blueprint in a sense, you know, for others coming up under him and stuff like that, and even labels to just kind of see, oh, Rod, that actually, okay, he did that, and it worked, and this is what happened. So
building a track record,
well, like a proof of concept essentially. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a good look. I mean, that, you know what, not to downplay the thing, Diamond did a listening party actually, but obviously he's Tanzanian, but he did a listening party maybe like 2 years ago, something similar, and it was amazing, great night, sick, like it was good, and the album was amazing, well received. So even he's another one that's always done that as well, actually. Like, I guess I was talking in the sense of Kenya, but East Africa, I feel like he's always been very intentional in how he moves and how his business is handled, and how he's you may think whatever you think about him, and right now there's some raging debates, but yeah, we won't get into all of that. But I feel like on the business side of things, like he's handled these things properly, you know what I mean? But yeah, but big up Bien though, big up Bien on what he's doing, and yeah, like it's a great look, you know what I mean? It's a good look, and something that kind of has fallen into place at a right time, where so many artists have come out this year and last year and over the past few years, and you know, they're building the fan base and the community. And this year, you know, someone like Joshua coming to perform here, Joshua Baraka,
that was huge.
You know, things that have happened so much, and as it feels like the timing kind of felt right for everything to happen together. So, you know, and you drop in the mix as well. Yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. So it feels like there's a lot of things that are coming together at the right time. You know what I mean? And moving into next year, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited to see what happens. You know, so I feel like we're in for a treat. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're in for a treat. And if you don't know about it, get to know, man. Get involved with the music. We got a SAUTI and MASHARIKI playlist in the bio. Click on that. Get involved. K-Roo's got the mix on. Was it Mixcloud, right?
Mixcloud,
yeah. So get involved, man. Listen to all of that, and yeah, like tell your friends about it as well. You know, just pass it on to a mate. You never know. You know what I mean? But enough of the music quickly. Yeah, like you said, you went to uni in America.
Yeah,
that's so dope. What was that like?
I had a great time.
What was that like, bro? I didn't forget that, you know.
Work